On today's episode of Locked On MLB, I compare the Yankee game to Citizen Kane. No, really.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called these days. And on Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram at Sully Baseball Podcast. But the best way to get a hold of me is right here on the YouTube page. Post comments below. And if you do, make sure to use that hashtag EverydaySully because it helps us find your comments. Hey, today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Monarch Money. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Before we get on talking about the Yankees and Rosebud Citizen Kane. Let's go to the trivia question, which was from yesterday, which was, what specific World Series feat did Eric Hinsky achieve? And that was his birthday the other day, and he has a unique World Series achievement. Stephen B. Knox Phils says, I know what World Series Hinsky has in common with World Series Willie Wilson with Phils win. That's right. Eric Hinsky struck out to end the 2008 World Series, which was the World Series title for the Phillies. And the first World Series title they won was in 1980, and Willie Wilson struck out. So, yes, that is something he did in the World Series, but he also had another unique achievement. And Big John 08865. Don Baylor, Eric Hinsky, and Will Smith played in 3 consecutive World Series with 3 different teams. That's right. Don Baylor did with the 86 Red Sox, the 87 Twins, and the 88 A's. Eric Hinsky did with the 2007 Red Sox, 2008 Tampa Bay Rays, and he homered for the 2009 Yankees in the World Series. And Will Smith was on the mound to clinch the 2021 title for the Atlanta Braves, was part of that Astros, was actually on the roster, but didn't get into the game in 2022, and then pitched in 2023. So he got actually 3 World Series rings in 3 years. But there you go. Okay. It's been said about the Yankees and this grotesque losing streak and the weird series with the Marlins, and it was a gut check. Ever since gut check time, and now here we go, 2 straight games with the Texas Rangers, and they've lost both of them. And they lost both of them with, once again, heartbreaking for Yankee fans, bullpen collapses, and just grotesque bullpen collapses. With Jock Peterson, who was batting like a pitch, he was batting like 130 something, homers off of Devin Williams, and there's the walk-off home run. They wind up shuffling around a bunch of the players, including some that they had just acquired, and including Mr. Bird, who was acquired and then optioned. That was one of their big pickups. And then today, they had to win this game. You have to start winning series if you're trying to get back in this race here. And the Rangers are the team that are chasing the Yankees right now. And so Will Warren pitches a wonderful, gutted it out. I know a lot of the stat people don't like to think about gutting out performances, but those of us who actually enjoy watching baseball get impressed sometimes when a player doesn't have their best stuff, but guts through it. And he had a tall order because Nathan Eovaldi, why can't the Red Sox get pitchers like him? Nathan Eovaldi was throwing a masterpiece over 8 innings, and Warren pitched him into the 6th, and Doval and Weaver got him through. And then the 8th inning, the day after Devin Williams lets up the game-tying home run, they put him in the most critical inning. If they brought him in the 6th, I'd understand it. Want to put that game behind you, you put him in the 6th inning. They put him in the 8th inning, where if the Rangers scored a run, then that put them 3 outs away from winning the game. And though he got the first out, it was clear a couple of batters into this, he didn't have it. And it was a disaster again. And he wound up walking the bases loaded. Then Rowdy Tellez fouled off, I think, 500 or 600 pitches. And David Bednar, who, while he's a right-handed pitcher, has great splits against left-handed bats. After fouling off all those pitches, got a 2-run single, 2-0. They brought in Mark Leiter Jr. Why didn't they bring him in the beginning? I don't know. And then they lost the game. So now it's a 5-game losing streak. And even if they win tomorrow with a perfect game, they've lost the series. And if they lose tomorrow, they are not a playoff team in August. Their perfect summer score will be destroyed. And then they could say, okay, now they're on the outside looking in. And all the Rangers, Mariners, and Red Sox would have to do is play one game better than the Yankees the rest of the way. And the Yankees will be playing golf. Why am I thinking about Citizen Kane? Citizen Kane, one of the great movies of all time, Orson Welles classic from 1941, was about a New York, super rich New Yorker who the media was obsessed with and seemed to be always cameras clicking on him, who runs for higher office despite having no experience. It's obviously something like that can't happen in reality. And this character gets involved in a seedy affair that torpedoes his political campaign. And he swears that the woman he was having an affair with was a great opera singer, not just a sleazy affair. And for a big chunk of the film, he pushes her basically pushes her on stage and has her tour the country as a great opera singer to prove that she's a great singer. Even though she's terrible. She has no talent. But he's pushing her out there. And she's humiliated. She knows she's terrible. She knows she's awful. And yet Kane keeps putting her on stage. And she screams at him, "Don't put me on stage. I'm the one they're booing at." And he says, "I won't be made a fool of." And despite all evidence that she doesn't want it, and she's terrible, his pride pushes her on stage until she has a breakdown. In a rare moment of humanity, he ends the tour. Why am I thinking of that? Because that's how the Yankees are treating Devin Williams. The way that Charles Foster Kane treated Susan Alexander Kane, insisting that Devin Williams is a great closer, insisting that Susan Alexander Kane was a great opera singer, even though anyone with ears heard she had no talent. And anyone with eyes sees that Devin Williams can never do this again. And the day after, he lets up a game-tying home run to the late Jock Peterson. They throw him right out there in the most high-leverage innings of that game because they can't admit that they are making a mistake. They had all these other relievers that they could get, the Bednar, the Doval, and people here in San Francisco are laughing, thinking like, you're going to go with Doval over this guy? Right now, as I'm recording this, Devin Williams's ERA is 5.44. Now, early in the season, 1 or 2 bad outings can really, really torpedo a reliever's ERA. We're in August. We're in freaking August. And a 5 ERA means, on average, more than every other inning, he's going to let up a run. And if you're bringing someone in to high leverage, low scoring games, or at least with a not necessarily low scoring, but where there's a small margin of error, and you have someone who on average is going to give up more than a run every other inning, he's going to fail. Just like Susan Alexander Kane failed when she was on stage. And Kane knew it. Kane ghost wrote a review saying that she was terrible, secretly wrote a review saying that she was terrible because he let out his frustration that way. Boone knows that Devin Williams can't be a closer. Cashman knows that. But the fact of the matter is, they have too much pride right now. They want to prove to everyone that his closer career didn't collapse when Pete Alonso hit that home run last October with Milwaukee, and he's been terrible. For God's sakes, Calvin Schiraldi and Byung-Young Kim are looking at each other going like, man, this guy doesn't seem like someone you want in a big moment. Rosebud. Yeah, I didn't expect to drop so many Citizen Kane references, but that was the only movie that I could think of in terms of the only example of this sort of pride that Devin Williams. Well, I don't know Devin Williams. He might be a good guy. Maybe I've never met the guy, but I actually lifelong native New Englander, grew up rooting for the Red Sox. I felt badly for him. Like I felt badly for Susan Alexander Kane. And I can still remember that scene when she says, "You're feeling humiliated." Yeah. Cashman. This is not Cashman and Boone. You best just let him be. Let him be. When we come back, I do want to bring up something. And that is, well, the Yankees also remind me of another great movie, one that isn't necessarily a new one either, but I think one that some of you may have already have seen. All right, let's hear from our good friends over at Gameday Hue. There it is, Gameday Hue. This episode is brought to you by them. And look at this hat, this great hat. It's got the Red Sox colors on that for a native New Englander like me. And this one hits the mat because let me tell you something. Notice I said it hits the Mac. I was trying to accentuate a New England voice there. It's clean. It's no logo gear. Sometimes you don't want the big logos going on there. But team-inspired colors for every pro and college fan base. I got to get one for Washington State. Go Cougs. So you can have that as well. Letting your colors speak for you. Not always about giant logos, but just smart, versatile styles that work on game day, on the golf course when I'm golfing with my cousin Josh and Eleanor, or anywhere in between. And you know what? If you're on the course, you want something subtle and stylish. You don't want to have something garish. And the hat works perfectly with my usual gear. It doesn't replace my team logo. It just adds a little depth to the lineup. And you know what they also get right here? When I go golfing with my cousin Josh and Eleanor, wear this. Look at this, split shade gloves made for the golf course and perfect for the fan who has everything. Eleanor wears these too. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals. So now it's time to load up. Let your colors talk because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com. Code MLB15. Okay, let's reference a movie that isn't in black and white. There's also a little bit of Groundhog Day going on here. I'm sure a lot of you have seen Groundhog Day or at least know about it. The complaints of Boone making these horrible mistakes, the mistakes of Brian Cashman with the construction of this roster. I mean, a lot of people are saying this on a lot of the shows and a lot of the Yankee podcasts and the Yankee shows, not just on Locked On Yankees, but all over the blogosphere. And I realized something. I could bring all those topics up again, but I realized I already have. I went back to this. It's right now, it's August 2025. I went back to August 2023. And I pulled a couple of clips from Locked On MLB from August 2023 on two different shows. One was August 20th, one was August 22nd. So it's almost exactly 2 years ago. And these are clips from 2 years ago. And here's the deal. If you're watching the games now and seeing what's happening now, these should feel eerily similar to what you would expect someone to say today. In other words, the problems that people are having with the roster construction, with Boone and the team playing dumb baseball and everything like This is not new, and this is not a small sample size, and this is not a reaction to, you're just reacting to something right that is happening now. This has been going on for literally years. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to play some of these clips right now and tell me that these clips that were all from Locked On MLB in 2023 couldn't easily be describing the state of the Yankees right now.
Look, it's more than obvious right now that this is a roster construction situation. This team was horribly put together and assembled. And Brian Cashman, I do not understand an argument to keep him. None. Even if you're going to give him credit for the 98 through 2003 run, of which he was standing on the shoulders of Gene Michael, Buck Showalter, and Bob Watson. Even you give him them. If you look at his last 10 years, when basically the core was removed, you can give him, I'll give him 2017, I'll give him 2019, hell, I'll give him the first half of last year. But the team is horribly constructed. Everyone says it. Everyone knows it. This team is incompetently put together, and sometimes it's good to have a regime change. It's good to bring in someone new. Hey, you've been here. That's a 10-year span since the retirement of Mariano Rivera. 9 years since Jeter. Maybe it's time for a new voice. This is not solely Cashman's fault. And whether you're going to blame Boone for all this, he's clearly not the face. He's not the person to lead this team. If Aaron Boone isn't the one to get this team pumped up, isn't that why you have him here? To get them at least pumped up for some of these series, at least to not have the hangdog? I'm not saying that you need to do what Steinbrenner used to do in the 80s, which was fire people left and right, sometimes fire people for no reason. But there's a middle ground between that and complete job security for decades and no accountability. You have an interim manager for the rest of the way. Hell, have it be Judge. Have it be Judge and sit Judge the rest of the way. But if he's not going to be the person, then just having him finish the season out right now is cruel. And he's clearly not the person. The roster construction is terrible, but these teams, they don't look like they're even up for the game. They make stupid plays. They make stupid errors. And he makes bullpen decisions that make no sense. And this team seemed completely unprepared. And at some point, if you're going to make the change, why wait till the end of the year? If you know the house is on fire, call the fire department. And by the way, before anyone says, well, who do you replace him with? Cashman would be hired right away. Boone would be hired right away. First of all, why? Why would they be hired right away? What organization is saying, oh, man, I'd like to have a guy with an unlimited budget as my general manager who couldn't even get the team into the World Series and made bad move after bad move? I can't wait to get that manager who kept making boneheaded decisions as a manager. Who knows? Maybe he would be better off in a smaller market without the scrutiny. Now, again, I always bring up Bruce Bochy's lieutenants. Roberto Kelly is a former Yankee with World Series championship coaching experience who's currently managing in Mexico. Hensley Mullins, the international coaching managing experience, on the coaching staff of 3 World Series champions, former Yankee. Someone explain to me why they can't hire them. So you can't tell me there aren't candidates out there. But if you're going to make the change, make it now. And you know what? You have to make the change because it's not working. Let me put it this way. There's not a Red Sox fan in the world who wouldn't be thrilled to see Cashman and Boone come back.
Yeah. Could that have been recorded about today's game? Yeah, I think it could have. Now, the next day after that, on the 2 days after that, on August 22nd, 2023, I read some viewer responses. Now, tell me that these also couldn't have been recorded about the current Yankee team.
Let's read from Rocky 2418 says, as a lifelong Yankee fan, I could say 2 things. The Yankees will never be successful until both Cashman and Boone are gone. Your video is spot on. Hey, Yankee fan agrees with me. Cashman will almost certainly be the GM next year. It won't surprise me if Boone was still the manager. And he went on talking about how Hal Steinbrenner doesn't care very much about whether the Yankees will lose. It continues to be packed with ticket holders, and he's happy. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later on, but I agree with you, Rocky, that as long as the Yankees are making money, Hal Steinbrenner is fine. Thomas Dempsey, 8011, said they show no fight. Remember the good old days, Paulie O'Neill smashing water coolers, and when he was winning championships, I like Boone, but the only people that he gets pissed off at are umps. In all fairness, deservedly so. I think Boone has a really good relationship with the players, but they're the ones who are going to cost him his job. Yeah, well, they brought in Boone because Joe Girardi was a hard ass, and they wanted someone to be someone who wasn't clashing with ownership, and Boone doesn't clash with anything. This one, I like this one from Stocks Groups Ward 5922. Can't fire the players, or the manager also has to motivate, and he's lost that. Fire Boone. I'd hire Donnie and hope to see him turn into a Tory and turn the club around. I've been very critical of Don Mattingly as a manager. I like to bring up the quote of my dad said, remember, the Dodgers are managed by an idiot, when Don Mattingly was the manager there. But as harsh as my dad's statement was, he has managed the Dodgers and he has managed the Marlins. And while I'm not his biggest fan as a manager, he did manage both of them to postseason trips. And you kind of want to have someone who would have the respect of the players, you would like to have Yankee ties, and you would also, like to have someone with some experience at it. I would lean more towards Joe Madden. I don't know whose car he keyed. He was played for one of the most incompetent organizations in the world with the Angels, but when the Angels signed him, wasn't he on his way to the Hall of Fame, and now he can't get a job? Why not head over to the Yankees? And if he wins there, then he would have won a World Series in both the American and National League. Madden seems like a pretty, instant respect and a message to the fans of, hey, we're getting someone who has won and has all the respect in the world.
And how about this clip about Cashman? Could that have been said today?
He inherited a terrific team, did what he needed to do. But sometimes you need a change of regime. Heck, the Red Sox had Theo Epstein stand on the shoulders of Dan Duquette. Dan Duquette put together a squad. Theo Epstein got him across the hump, but eventually it was time for Theo to go, because sometimes you need to change some things up. Sometimes you need a different voice in there. And so many people won't criticize Cashman. I heard Ken Rosenthal, who's forgotten more baseball than most of us will ever know, and he was talking about how the roster construction was bad for this and the team wasn't assembled correctly. But when bringing up the idea of maybe replace Cashman, he's like, oh, but, he's had such success and everything, and he's a survivor. Does he have photographs of people? Why? I don't understand why he gets such a pass from so many people, but he's no longer getting the pass from the fans, because I think they're reading through everything here.
And one last clip. This was 2 years ago, talking about Hal.
And Hal is like Niles Crane. You just don't think he's going to run the team. He doesn't really show much interest in it. And so naturally he's going to let Cashman get away with stuff and Boone get away with stuff, because they're like, I'm not into this. I'm not making money. The stands are filled. We're selling merchandise. Great. What's the problem?
So, yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And I have a feeling in 2027, I might be playing those clips again. Do you know why? I don't think anything's going to change. Okay, let's hear from our good friends over at Monarch Money. Now, ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're building wealth. Now, sometimes you lose track of some of the accounts and some of the subscriptions you have. Monarch Money helps you track all of those things. And if you have a financial goal, whether it's a college tuition, whether it's a big trip or a new car, you can use Monarch Money to plan the way. You got to take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for 50% off your first year. Hey, I want to just quickly bring up, as we're wrapping up the show here, one of the things I think baseball needs to make sure gets really seen everywhere are those videos of people getting the call to the major leagues. Just post those. I could watch one of those every day. A few years ago, Winton Bernard, who had gone a decade in the minor leagues and basically thought any hope of making the majors was over. And he got called up to the Colorado Rockies, and he FaceTimed with his mom. He said, "Mom, I did it. I did it." And I'm chopping onions right here. Or like when 30-something Cam Boozer, who again, career minor leaguer, never made it to the majors, and they show the video of him being told that he is getting called up and he's going to make his major league debut with the Red Sox. And there was another one that recently I saw with Cole Young, who was a Marlins prospect, and he got called up from Tacoma, and you see him calling up his mom, and then you see him calling up his dad. These are the kind of stories and the things that will make fans of people. It's not about the stats. It's not even sometimes about the history. Sometimes you got to have that human interest part of it. So if you watch a sports movie, the first 3/4 of a sports movie is always the build-up to the game, because you have to get to know the people and you got to attach some emotion to them. You got to attach emotion to the Cutters in Breaking Away, or to the Bears and the Bad News Bears, or to Rocky, or to Rudy, or to Jim Morris in the Rookie. You have to build up that connection, and you can get yourself hooked onto all sorts of Olympic sports that you're interested in, but you'll get hooked on because you get that human interest story. Or the Susan Boyle quality of, oh, you're rooting for this singer on American Idol, or this person on the British Baking Show. And one of the great ways to do that is just have, when someone gets the call up, their first call, not the people go back and forth, although that getting their first call to the majors, show that, to have a whole channel devoted to that and get people loving it, because that's when you get the passion and the energy of the fans. And that's what we need to build on. And speaking of the passion and energy of the fans, and also talking about how things stay the same in Yankee land, let's bring the trivia question, because today is Ken Phelps's birthday. And any Seinfeld fan knows that Frank Costanza was furious that George Steinbrenner traded Jay Buhner for Ken Phelps and told it to his face. So the trivia question is, Steinbrenner favorite and Frank Costanza obsession Ken Phelps won a World Series with what team? Won a World Series ring with what team? So Ken Phelps, who the Yankees got for Jay Buhner, what team did he win a World Series ring for? And he actually played in the World Series that he got a ring with. So that is the trivia question. Put it down below. And thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. For your second listen, check it out right here on this feed, the Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night at Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Talking about some great movies, Citizen Kane and Groundhog Day, and connecting them to the current Yankee situation. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan, Rosebud. And you can call me Mr. Kane. There was a man. Dun, 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. I think it would be fun to run a newspaper. I think it would be fun to run a newspaper.